Good afternoon. In this video, I'm going to deal with the issue of Robert Breaker and his discussion on slavery. If you go to his website, his old website, he's got the issue of Confederacy there. Now, this guy's always talking about against slavery. Buckman said the same thing. Oh, well, we're against slavery. They support the guys who were fighting for it. Of course, then they said they weren't fighting for it. But you read the Constitution, they wanted to expand slavery. They were fighting to expand slavery, people. When people say about the Civil War, what they do is attack the idea. Well, people say the war was to free the slaves, and they latch on to the idea, well, initially, the Union wasn't fighting to free the slaves, it was fighting to preserve the Union. But that basically was the reason the South left, or attempted to leave, was so they could expand into the territories. They don't want to tell you that. The South was fighting to expand slavery. And they would have expanded slavery. And if they had won, slavery would have existed. So always people, I'm against slavery, but they'll defend the Confederacy. They'll defend the president, Jeff Davis, to attack Lincoln. Jeff Davis is the one who re-enslaved blacks when the Emancipation Proclamation was put out. He said any slave, not if they freed or not, he was going to put them in slavery. Oh, you're attacking Breaker. He threw the gauntlet down. Oh, I should see these people coming up to me. And there was always empty channels. There's never like anybody. He threw the gauntlet down. Now, what about the reparations issue? This is not an issue. Our generation is not responsible for slavery. Just like the Japanese and Germans today aren't responsible for what their grandfathers did in World War II. Great-grandfather, whatever, grandfathers, great-grandfathers. So you just did. I say, look, the sins of the father don't pass onto the son. The sons are not responsible for what the fathers did. But you don't defend what they did. That's what the Japanese tried to do. They tried. Oh no, we didn't do all that stuff in World War II. Yes, you did. Oh, the Holocaust never happened. Yes, it did. Now that generation exists today isn't responsible for that. I don't hold the Japanese responsible for World War II. People live today. I don't hold the Germans responsible for World War II, who live today. So you stop it there. You don't go into and get this whole illusionary, distorted, warped view of history in order to defend something that great-grandfathers were involved in 150 years ago and say, well, really, the South was really good and they were nice and the South was really, slavery wasn't as bad as it was, blah, blah, blah. And then try to go to, Genesis 9, like, well, slavery really existed and it was all fine. So he started off, Breaker started the issue of, hey, white people aren't responsible for what happened 150 years ago. That's right. No one's responsible for who lives alive today is responsible for what happened 150 years ago. That's the reality of it. So when people talk about, white guilt or whatever, you say, get out of here. Say Japanese guilt. Yeah, the Japanese aren't responsible for Pearl Harbor today. What are you talking about? The rape of Nat King and all that stuff. They're not responsible for that. You don't go to them and say, your grandfather did this or that. But that's where you stop it. You don't whitewash history. And don't pretend those things didn't happen. And that's what a lot of the Germans and Japanese tried to do. And tried to pretend, oh, look, we didn't really do that. We didn't really do it. Oh, yes, you did. I mean, you didn't do it, but the grandfathers did. Don't try to whitewash history. And that's what Breaker's trying to do. That's what a whole Ruckman school does. And that's what we want them, because they're twisting history, twisting the truth. If a man's honest, he'll just say, yeah, that's what happened. You take the American-Mexican War, Mexican-American War. We started that. Americans started that. We stole basically California from them. So I mean, that's the history. You can't deny that. President Polk wanted to expand and pick a fight with the Mexicans. We invaded Mexico and basically, just took California for, stole basically California for nothing. That's the reality of history. You don't deny it. But I want to read here. This is from Frederick. Now, Breaker's contention is, well, the South was all Christian. And he has the idea of revival happened because of the North came down there and it was exposed to Southern Christianity. Guys living in a delusional world. Breaker. But all these fucking guys are. They are. They've been so indoctrinated. They go 3 years at school and they just totally get indoctrinated. They can't argue. I mean, they can't basically know you're wrong on that. The faith work system doesn't line up with God's attributes. Get out of here. You don't know your doctrine. You know? So, but the fact that what he said, oh, they all, you know, they were mostly slaves on the Christian masters, and so they were treated much better. They were treated well, and there was all propaganda, all the abuse happened to the slaves and stuff. Some masters were good and benevolent. No one's denying that. But the fact of the matter is, slavery itself as an institution also dehumanized the masters. And he had this weird. In this video, he has it here where he says, "Oh, the cotton thing, you only had to, you know, pick like 7 months or 5 months of the year you off." Oh, you think the masters, these guys, the masters let the slaves just go hunt and fish for 5 months a year? No, it was year round because they had to cultivate new land. That's a nuttiness. But he projects himself to be an expert. And he did try to change the King James Bible. Then he lied to it about Jason. So Jason saying, "See, it's not any slavery in the Old Testament. Look at his servants." And say, no, you were trying to make every time the word you see servant was synonymous with slave. That's what he was trying to do. And then he tries to lie to Jason. That's a dishonest man. That's a dishonest man. And that's why I keep going after him. That's why, you know, if you want me to get, the last thing anybody wants to do, if you want me off a guy's back, is to come on to me and tell me to get off a guy's back. That just makes me want to double down on it. You know, oh yeah, you just stop picking on Baker. He's a soul winner, you know. And what are you doing for guys, you know? And he's a liar. He tried to deceive Jason to thinking that I said something wrong, when in fact other people could see and say, yeah, he's trying to make slavery and servant synonymous, because the word doulos, the Greek word doulos, and servant isn't always used. The doulos isn't always used for the word servant. So that's two issues that you're talking about. Once bring up the issue of, you know, reparation, but he brought up the issue of heritage. This wasn't about the issue of people going in there and saying reparations, you know, and he's going back to his Southern culture. They keep this hypersensitivity to justify something the great-great-grandfathers did 150 years ago. It's ridiculous. They just can't let it go, though. Oh, no, they were right. But we're against slavery. You know, you're crazy people. But they expect you not to read history. They expect to get away with it. Just like he puts up that picture of the black man. The first black was owned by the first black was in 1640, according to even the Wikipedia. That was the first man won in the civil. He won that man in the civil case, and the black owned the black. We know slavery was never racial until the South made it racial and won't legal slavery into its constitution. That's what he won't tell you. It's always what they don't tell you. Just like the Alexandrians leave words out of the King James Bible, leave out of their translations. Omission. That's the primary way out, you know, these lies operate. So I'm going to read here from Frederick Douglass. So Breaker's making this big deal about the Christians in the South, the Christians in the South. The revival happened still in the Civil War because of the bloodshed. The bloodshed was so great. The country recognized this. We have to be under judgment as a nation, not one segment. Lincoln said that. He said both the North and the South was paying for what they did to slaves. He said every drop of blood, for every lash, it was like the nation itself was paying for it in retribution for that issue, and for not ending it. I mean, ultimately, they could have ended it, and therefore that would have. Every other country in the world, slavery ended peacefully. I guess against Haiti, they had the revolt, slave revolt. The only thing is 1791, slave revolt in Haiti, which led to basically Louisiana Purchase, because the French got kicked out of Haiti, and Napoleon sent a fleet to retake it, and I think the fleet was sunk or something. So he gave up on North America. But the fact is most other countries, ended peacefully. This is it was unfortunate because the Southerners began to look at slavery as a positive good, changed the view, and they entitled and rationalized the idea that the black man should be enslaved, and that was the mindset. And that's why indirectly you still see that where all these people running through Romans, Genesis 9. I'll show you something from Gene Kim's book, which is very fascinating. Didn't know you got Gene Kim. And the weird stuff he says. None of these guys will ever go after work, go give work and say, what comes wrong with this? You know, oh, they might be able to wash away their mark, you know. Where do you get that idea? Oh, well, he didn't say it's a doctrine. He said, well, refuted. It's lunacy. That's, you know, it goes against exactly the Marxists who takes the mark that, you know, they're going to hell. So let me read this on page 68. This is from Frederick Douglass, very, very well known escaped slave who was one of the top black leaders in the nation at the time. And this is his autobiography and about his history of slavery and things in there. He's the first, I think he's the first black man ever going into the White House as a dignitary. Lincoln invited him in there. On the 1st of January 1834, I left Mr. Colby and went to live with Mr. William Freeland, who lived about 3 miles from St. Michael's. I found Mr. Freeman a very different man from Mr. Colby. Though not rich, he was what would be called an educated Southern gentleman. Mr. Colby, as I have shown, was a well-trained Negro breaker and a slave driver. The former, slaveholder though he was, seemed to possess some regard for honor, some reverence for justice, and some respect for humanity. Okay, being honest. The latter seemed totally insensible to all such sentiments. Mr. Freeland had many of the faults peculiar to slaveholders, such as being very passionate and fretful, but I must do him the justice to say that he was extremely free from those degrading vices to which Mr. Colby was constantly addicted. The one was open and frank, and we always knew where to find him. The other was a most artful deceiver and could be understood only by such as were skillful enough to detect his cunningly devised frauds. Another advantage I gained from my new master was he made no pretensions to or profession of religion, and thus in my opinion was truly a great advantage. I assert most unhesitatingly that the religion of the South was a mere covering for the most horrid crimes, a justifier for the most appalling barbarity, a sanctifier of the most hateful frauds, and a dark shelter under which the darkest, foulest, grossest, and most infernal deeds of slaveholders find the strongest protection. That's what our breakers give them, protection of religion. And as one person commented on my video, most of the South was Calvinistic, by the way. You know, Stonewall Jackson was a strong Presbyterian. So that's the type of Christianity you're getting. Were I to be again reduced to the chains of slavery, next to that enslavement, I should regard being the slave of a religious master the greatest calamity that could befall me. For of all the slaveholders with whom I've ever met, religious slaveholders are the worst. Guy who was a slave, you should know. I have ever found them the meanest and basest and most cruel and cowardly of all others. It was my unhappy lot not only to belong to a religious slaveholder, but to live in a community of such religions. There you go. There's your, oh, we all, Breaker, they're all Christians. Smiley gets me, they're all Christian there. And he has articles up defending this nonsense. The North all pagan, Unitarians. Now the abolitionists had a wing on there. You know, they're guys who were, you know, Unitarians and stuff like that and that. Just like founding fathers with deists and stuff like that. But there's certain body of evangelicals involved. In England, Wilberforce was responsible for ending the slave trade in England. It was evangelical. But with these guys, this is a simplistic, idiotic, moronic view of history. And Robert Breaker thinks he's an historian. He's putting up history. I'm interested in history, you know. No, he's not. It gets interesting in finding a history to defend his point of view and then justify it. But they always start off, people. Always start off. Let me start off first. I'm against slavery. But now I'm going to spend the whole video defending the guys who were for slavery. And then I'm going to say how Christian you are. Okay? That's the reality. That's the reality of the brutality of slavery. It was often done by the religious people. You know, remember the idea of, well, South. So remember, Patrick Henry had a fight. They were beating Baptist preachers in Virginia for preaching the gospel, and Patrick Henry went to defend him. So that was the Anglican Church doing it. So like these guys con you. Book of Relief has the thing out, the three, he's got the three, Denlinger up there, and he's got Stephen Anderson, he's got Breaker. And those are like the probably three main ones. And of course, you got Gene Kim preaching his, still continuing on Ruckman poison. There's two poisons going out, Stephen Anderson and Ruckman. And we'll deal with that more. But the issue is Christians are not supposed to be kooks. They're supposed to be sound. All these guys go off in weird areas. Now, you could forget, well, Anderson anti-Semitic. That's just like, and his replacement theology, I'll be dealing with his in Romans 11. And his Romans 11 destroys replacement theology. And Stephen Anderson has an outright lie when he gets to that chapter. Those chapters dealing with the genetic Jew, and God still loves them because he wants to think church is Israel. He used to see, the way they have to manipulate that. And then, of course, you got Ruckman and his nonsense, holding on to the idea of the, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, which doesn't exist anymore, people. Those categories don't exist anymore. Okay, the fact is everyone's mixed with everybody else. So the nations, basically, constantly people, they divide in that. But the idea, hey, North and South America won't occupy, so who's going to occupy them? See, they would say, well, they got blocked out, say, in Africa. So Europeans can move out. And Shem can move around, but Blast got to stay in Africa there. That's the attitude. But God obviously knew North America was going to be inhabited by all people. And the issue is nationalism, always nationalism. Build bounds in order to allow the gospel, not racial. Not racial. And that race is normally an issue because everyone's mixed with everybody else. It was pure anything. So let's stop with this up. And you break people. I haven't seen any break people. I don't see any of these people making intelligent comment. They already come on here. They got some empty. This usually probably the guy. Somebody knows the guy. You're just mean to just attacking Denver. You're just attacking Breaker. You're just attacking Kim. You're just attacking this. You can't make an intelligent comment. I think I was blocked by Breaker. So if anybody can see my comments, let me know because I don't know how it works anymore. But again, shows you. Go read Confederate articles. I'm against slavery. That's just saying people, and he basically beguiles. He tries to, and he's got his, so smiling. He's always smiling all the time. Go read. Well, he's conning you, lying to you. He's like a Bible teacher. Look, we're not going after people who are just average video makers. These are guys claiming to be teachers and pastors. They're supposed to be able to take the heat. When you put up a doctrine, get up there. I don't complain if somebody comes after me. So, that's their right. I'm just some poor guy just making a video, just, making it off the top of his head and saying, okay, and I'm just an average guy, just making it fine. Don't go after him. Go after guys who are supposed to be the teachers. Robert Breaker wants to get up there and claim to be somebody. And claim history defends his point. No, it doesn't. History doesn't defend. He's going to show him he's going to show you the real history. No, it doesn't. It's just distorted history made by people who lost the war and then tried to rearrange the things. Said, well, they were on the wrong side, defending a wrong institution to the death. And then they would claim, well, the North wasn't against slavery, and we weren't really for slavery. We were just for states' rights, and we were invaded by those Yankees, and they came down here and we just wanted Grady has this thing, peaceful secession. It's an oxymoron. Peaceful secession. It's like a peaceful revolution. What are you talking about? I guess I shouldn't say that because the Glorious Revolution was considered a peaceful revolution, 1688. But really, those things, secession is not a right. In any country, you just can't allow secession. The idea was that these states were not independent nations. Except for Texas. Texas came as an independent nation. That would be the one exception. But the idea was that, they came under the principles of the Constitution, and they had a state. And so this idea of, secession, the arguments of secession, the Southern Confederacy didn't build any rights to secession in their Constitution. But again, this is important from history, a point of view of why these guys are coming from this angle, and a point of honesty. They're not honest. They're not honest in their doctrine. They're not honest in their doctrine. And they'll double down on it. Talking about cutting your hand off, you know, or cutting the top of your forehead. Look at Gene Kim, you know, in order to, we take the mark, you cut that hand off, you know. That's okay. And you finally backed up and said, well, yeah, I was a stupid. They never back up. They expect us to back up. We ain't backing up. And call them out on it. Because people believe the stupid stuff like that. The guy, you know, Baker. I don't set dates, but rapture could happen 2033. We told to look for dates. No, we're not to look for dates. Rapture and stuff. Not to look for it. But he's going to find, you know, we're spitballing this. You know, and he wants to talk about slavery. He wants to get on there with this poor guy. Doesn't know he's, you know, poor guy didn't know he wasn't. There's a guy you wouldn't pick on because you say, well, he doesn't, you know what's going on. But Baker likes to get on there and just, you know, kind of dominate everything like he knows something. It's like, oh, because he was in 3 years of Bible school. Well, he's indoctrinated. And that's all he is. He just regurgitates the same lies, same falsehoods. And some of it's true. A lot of it's true. But what Ruckman learned was true, he got from Schofield. You think he got anything true from Bob Jones University? Read his biography. He didn't get anything true from Bob Jones University. He just got the credentials. They didn't teach him anything there. And that was a segregated institution. We weren't allowed to interracially date. Okay, so that's, you know, so what he's got, you know, what did Gene King get from Berkeley? Got his PhD from Berkeley. What did he learn in Berkeley to get him a PhD? He got his supposedly master's. Well, from PBI, masters, they're not capable of giving out a master's degree. PBI, they're not accredited for that, as far as I know. It's just a Bible school. So a lot of people, I don't know, he may have got his master's somewhere, maybe it was another master's. You know, obviously Berkeley gave him a PhD, so he had to have some master's background there. But the fact is that Bible schools only teach you so much. They're just made to shove information into you. The goal is that, you know, you're supposed to go out and be able to now to actually meditate on this stuff and, you know, say, no, that's bizarre. We thought it's that way. You know, get rid of that. But they don't. They cling to it because they want those workmen. And all these guys got one thing in common: King James Bible. King James Bible. And so they all hold it up. Like they're the ones that, oh man. So you look at it and say, well, if he's teaching one thing, he's teaching another thing, he's teaching another thing, and they're all using the King James Bible, something's wrong. All three of them can't be right. Talking about Dengler, modalist, work salvation. And you got Anderson. He had internal security. Now he's talking about every heretic is a reprobate. People get with the heresy. And his replacement theology, because he can't read. You know, and he's a post-trib guy. You know, he said he went to a pre-trib church. And he said he was a post-trib guy since he was a young boy. That's what Breaker says we learned this history. He's a young boy. He never told his pastor he was a post-trib guy. That never came up. And he gets on his former deacon, Tyler Baker. He's deacon. Now he's lost. You know, you made him a deacon. You think the guy's lost? He says, well, he never told me he was a modalist. He never told you about the pastor you were a post-trib guy. And then he went to, you know, Hyles Anderson, didn't complete that, the school. But the fact is that, you know, him and his pastor, the original pastor who sent him there, will support him going there. And this is from Anderson saying this. His own pastors denounced him because he said that the whole issue of the priest. Oh, I guess it never came up. You know, I suppose his father believed it too, you know, I think so. But let's stop here and put this up. Yeah, but you have intelligent comments, police put them down there. You know. But these guys, let me tell you, these cult people from the Luckman group, and you think the Luckman group, you think people are intelligent. You know, say, okay, what's all you? No, they're not. Breaker guys, Gene Kim, Dengler. They the people that are following them, they can't muster an argument. All they can do is whine about how great Denver is, and how great Blake was, and how great Ruckman was, and how great Gene Kim is doing. He's the best Bible teacher around. She's lying to you in certain crucial areas. I didn't say everything he said was wrong. I didn't say everything that Anderson said was wrong. I didn't say everything that Ruckman taught was wrong. I didn't say everything that Blake saw was wrong. But Levin doesn't say, when you say Levin, doesn't mean everything's wrong. Most of it, 99%, Levin's just a little bit. And that's what it takes. In this case, a lot of it is more than 11. A lot of it's major issues. Major issues. Like in the case in Denver, in his modalist heresy, and Andrew Sluter, a Ruckman guy, preaching modalism. And William Grady's up there sitting with him. I don't know if you know what that guy teaches. And of course, all these guys teach modalism, they're denied to teach modalism. No, we're teaching the Trinity. Okay. So let's stop and put this up. Amen. Thank you.